Now we need a jingle, I think, for Professor Zilberberg. No, he has no.
No, no.
Sorry for that.
And okay, so that you just have time. So that's it's really hard to answer your question. It's since iPhone, we don't get any trend that was strong enough to build a business on it. You can think of blockchain, you can think of AI, but actually it's not so easy to build something on it. I told you, AI, blockchain, Bitcoin are huge. But for me, what is maybe the most interesting now is when it comes about infrastructures, and especially when it's a new IT, when you think of all big corporations that need to get digitalized, and now that this one is absolutely huge, is that how they cloudify themselves.
Maybe before talking a little bit about education and learning, which is a subject that you addressed several times, we didn't have time so far to talk about business models. And there's one subject which I'm very interested in about business model transformation. Very often when people speak about reinventing business models, they change the pricing and they try to sell something different. And I read an interview from one of your colleagues who mentions what can be called the performance-based business models, where people basically are paid according to performances. And before you were explaining that you don't sell means like brain power times number of hours times number of people, that it's not, you're not like usual consulting companies, but you want to sell something else. And I was wondering if you're able to sell results rather than means, and if you can translate that brilliant idea into financial into cash flows, to make it straightforward.
To be honest, no, we don't. Not yet. Hopefully we will, and that's something we're working on. I would prefer to go for a subscription-based model rather than on success. For many reasons. One is that success is just great. Just that's a good way to share value, added value. By the way, I'm very, very impressed, and I've been looking a lot at McKinsey, and the amount of the fees is usually they try to be at 10% of the overall economy they're working on, so that you will be in less expenses or more turnover, or so that's something that they usually do. In my opinion, and I told you about FaberNovel Data and Media, and we are on a subscription-based model in that business. And for some others, just like FaberNovel Technologies, we're also working more and more on a subscription-based model. Why? Because it allows you to be in a way better partnership relationship. You are talking about a win-win, you know, that's situation. The thing is that when you're just on the results, usually it's a one-off. Just because it's you try to make as much as you can, you bill, and afterwards, if your customer is independent and know how to do it by himself, he won't pay 2 times for the same thing, for sure. And he won't be that happy just because that's you didn't pay, and suddenly you have to pay something that is huge. And it's I prefer to be something where you see the value, you subscribed it to that value, and you are in a model where, in my position, you don't tell yourself, okay, I'm gonna make a huge win this month, and after I'm gonna leave, or I'm gonna just win a little bit every month just to say in the project and to build. more and longer. So that'd be my option for now. I guess also that's it's really hard, and it's maybe more a matter of marketing than a matter of business model. Let me explain it. It's when I say that it's when I told you about that project, when in only 2 days we had incredible results, and that maybe better results than 6 months of hard work of 3-4 people, as a matter of alignment, as a matter of many things. Again, we don't have our clients paying as much as we think the value of the type project is. But one day, if our brand is good enough, they will pay for it. They will say, I want that project signed, made by FaberNovel. So it's again, it's more how you create a brand name, and how you get paid just to add your name to a project, and that's what we're working on.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I think usage is subscription is very often metrics which are based on usage, and usage is a proxy of value, in the sense that when people use, you can say they value what you provide, and it's something in between selling means and selling performance. So maybe you're halfway in the challenge. Well, who knows?
That's right.
It's challenging anyway. My second question is I will talk about education, and I wanted to quote, if I can display it, one quote that I read in OECD report written by a guy called François Tadei. I don't know, well, you know him, of course. He's a friend of yours, so I'm lucky. But I'm not so surprised in a way, because I thought, and that's what I wanted to ask you, that this quote I'm going to say, maybe you will tell me, could summarize the spirit you try to generate in your company with the examples you gave. So the quote is this one: we should try to educate the 21st century self-learners, autodidact, if you want. Is it something that makes sense to you, and that would fit your company?
Definitely. That's what I told you about, that infinite onboarding that we're working on. That's I think that it's a crime not to learn every day. Actually, it's come on, we are spending so much time on Facebook and all this just to for stupid videos. That's we have to invest as much, more, maybe less, of our time learning things, and it's absolutely key. Just because I told you I'm curious. That's FaberNovel #1 value, curiosity, and you need to nurture this curiosity, and that's one of the reasons why I guess that we have clients and employees. Again, one of your question, David, what I was proud about is that usually people come to us asking for something that doesn't exist, and I'm very, very proud of thinking that if it doesn't exist, you can trust young people in not so old company just to build and create something seriously, and so it can't be possible if you're not learning every day and being able just to make connections between different fields and being ahead. I don't know if it's ahead of your market or ahead of your time, but that's being, that's in the rhythm again. And so it comes with learning. And it's also about discussing, so that we had a keynote yesterday for Orange top management, and one of our colleagues came from Shanghai for a 1 hour presentation, and they were just like mind boggled by what's happening now in China, and especially in Shenzhen and Shanghai. So learning is what you're doing here in education, but that's traveling. That's also we need to get exposed to everything. I didn't have this question about industries. At FaberNovel, we're not specialized by industries. I think that, again, if you want to learn, it's not about reproducing something that has been working in banks or in car makers, or you have to learn something that has been working somewhere and try to think how to adapt and to work with it somewhere else. And again, that's I'm very fond of François Taddy's work, and they're not very far away from here. They're based in Le Marais, and he works a lot with young people, and again, my job has changed so much since the beginning, so that's something that's big principles, that all your very good questions, that has not changed, have not changed. But again, that's so many things came since then. So that's if I stick to what we were just 10, 12 years ago, that would be just like ridiculous. So it's in our DNA to be always curious about what's happening, how to learn about it, and how to share what we've been learning.
And do you think you can maintain that ethos in your company now that it's growing a lot, now that you're buying a lot of companies? I saw that in the last few years. Do you think it could become a challenge to try to move from a kind of pioneering spirit of curiosity if you begin to become big, like the legacy you work with, or a bit slow, as sometimes you say?
Of course, there is a risk. You're right. Of course, in a very dynamic economy with lots of opportunities, also because I told you our baseline, our mission is to distribute the future. I'm very happy saying that we train young and bright people to distribute the future, not only in FaberNovel but out of FaberNovel. I'm very proud again of the fact that most of people living FaberNovel became entrepreneurs themselves, and that was not to join one of our competitors. Actually, it's very rare. In 15 years, I can count on one hand people that have been to competitors. But I have made tens of examples of people that now are successful entrepreneurs. So it's my risk is more how to keep people motivated, but also engaged. But at the end of the day, it's you have to be happy with the fact that people have to go on distributing the future elsewhere and have some new fresh blood coming for the exact same reason, that just because that come with the will to learn, but something also that is new, and that you guys, you don't just think of how much that these schools change for the past 15 years. So that it's great also to welcome some new students that come out of the school. That's for me very interesting. For as an example, something that has changed for the 20 last years is the way you speak English. I don't know what be your experience as teacher, but I would say that now it's 100% of your students speak good English. That wasn't the case 20 years ago.
Yes, at the same time, I remember once when we decided that we would give a course in English, management accounting is one course I give to French students, but it was a long time ago, but their first reaction was, it's going to be more difficult for us. They didn't take it as a... But it has changed, yes, for sure. One thing which has changed a lot is the way we consider teaching. I think we less and less the sage on the stage, but more the guide on the side, and we try to facilitate, we try to develop a critical thinking attitude, and we try to train also lifelong learners, and so we don't focus so much on the content to transmit, but maybe to co-produce learning, to create maybe a more democratic approach to teaching by involving the students, and that's things which you can do online because you collect a lot of information from them, and also in face-to-face sessions it's possible to, I think, to involve more the student than what we did before. I wanted to share with you, I hope it won't be too boring and too long, but let's try, and if it's too boring, we'll cut.
By the way, just before, I like the way you have a point in common. You have a smooth way of challenging the status quo, I would say. It's like Stéphane, for instance. He's gonna, the way he says, like, he defines himself as an architect, designer, and then after it's and by the way, we're also an advisory firm. It's very subtle. And the way also you describe the way you're a teacher, it's so we feel in a soft way. By the way, we're taking a hard look on soft skills here. That there are different ways of challenging the status quo and of developing things.
We are a very entrepreneurial organization. Which means that everybody is very independent. Everybody owns its own projects. But of course, there's also a lot of teamwork. So we really support each other. We don't have a strong hierarchy here in the US. This is not what we believe in. We believe in what we do, in our passion, in the project we're working on. We're very flexible. There's a lot of variety. So we change jobs and we change our missions a lot depending on the clients, on the project we're working on. This is, the beauty of working for an innovation agency. We're very innovative ourselves, so we always have ideas. We're very creative people. So you don't put creative people in a box. It doesn't work. So we try to, as much as we can, be out of the box. We also try as much as we can to be on the field, to meet people, to meet entrepreneurs, to meet startups, to go to events, to understand the ecosystem. It's very important for us. I would say that the culture is a culture of curiosity, of entrepreneurship, of independence, and also of really independent minds. It's important for us. Well, I think, my favorite events or my favorite moments at FaberNovel ever are offsites. I love, we did one in Chicago last year, we did one in Las Vegas the previous year, this year we're going to Mexico. And I think it's a very important moment for us as a company, because this is where we share our strategy, we share our goals, We also celebrate the successes, and we party together, which is always nice. But it's also where we create the bonding that we need to do what we do. So definitely my favorite moments are those. But I would say I have a second favorite moment. I love our learning expeditions. We do a lot of them. We do about 40 of them every year. And I love spending a week with an executive committee and to see them discovering Silicon Valley, what this is all about. Going to Facebook, going to Google, going to a smaller startup, and you see in their eyes and you share with them their strategy, what's the pain points, how we could help them. And those are very, very intense moment in our relationship with a client, and I really cherish those moments.
And so,
Well, thank you. Well, the technology helps to do so. Yes, you wanted to say
Yeah, I
something.
just want to tell you two things concerning your education here at ESCP. I am very happy that now you have coding courses during your first year or your two first years and pre-master, and that was my idea, and that's something I asked and I put very hard for. That I think that's new. So that's in your courses, in what you're learning here at ESCP, that's new and that's great. Concerning your idea, and I don't know if he was still here at ESCP as a student or as an alumni, or there is an idea that I'm trying again very hard to push with the ESCP advisory board, is what I call lifetime education warranty. I would love that when you graduated from ESCP, you would be allowed 5 to 10 years afterwards to be able to join a minor, and that be in the nutrition fees and for many reasons. One, because I guess it's a good way for the school to get in contact, to keep in contact, keep in touch with its alumni, and you need it, and we know that it's not so obvious. Second, because I think that you guys, students, it's just great for us, that's being a bit older, to get in contact with you, and I think that you will benefit also from our experiences. So that's great, that's having older people joining your classes, and ESSEC 20 years ago invented that internship or plus courses, lessons. It was this year that you had to be a trainee, and I'm pretty sure that the ESCP could invent something, just like saying that after graduation you could add something, and just MEB, Master in European Business, did it.
Yes.
But that's the way to the conversion path
Exactly.
towards an MBA. But I think it should be in all our, that's for maybe just for a couple of days, maybe for a few weeks when you graduated from the master. But I'm sure it'd be great.
It's a brilliant idea, and in fact, that I bounce on that because you said that subscription was a business model that you cherish. In a way, we could imagine for education a kind of subscription, a lifelong subscription where people could basically go on following somehow courses, whether face-to-face or online. Even though I'm totally convinced that school is not the only place where you learn, and I noticed when you presented your company that you learn a lot by doing, and you explained also that you learn from the youngsters you work with because they very often know more than what you know about the new things which appear constantly. So I think it would be, in fact, lifelong learning is really the unavoidable path for all of us, and somehow we have to learn how to learn. That's what people call metacognition, and that's I think the essence of what we should teach actually today. But I wanted to share with you something which when you said before on the when I was studying or tell me, maybe I'm not correct, but when I was studying, it was all about earning, and people were studying in order to earn money, and of course that's a commitment that we have in a business school, which is because students pay and they hope to basically get refunded and pay back what the money they might have borrowed to study, but. I wanted to try to reconcile this idea of learning and earning, which is a problem, for instance, in the United States, where students, the amount of liabilities for students is enormous, and they can't get salaries which allow them basically to just live decently. And I heard about something which is called learning is earning. And there's a website, Learning is Earning 2026, and they describe a kind of utopia, but which is very attractive. And I just want to read you one paragraph, and I want you to tell me if you think that it's just an utopia or something that you might imagine to see one day, because I consider you somehow as a futurist. That's part of your job. So I read, in this future, the currency of learning is tracked and traded on a digital platform called the ledger. You know that the ledger in accounting is where you record all the transactions. And so we could imagine the blockchain and so on, tracking all this. And so I go on. It's a complete record of everything you've ever learned, everyone you've learned from, and everyone who has learned from you. The ledger not only tracks what you know, it also tracks all of the projects, jobs, gigs, and challenges you've used that knowledge to complete. Anyone can use the ledger to teach or mentor anyone else and get paid for it. In fact, you can pay down your student loans by teaching forward what you learned in school. Does it seem to you just pure science fiction
that, again,
world, or can you imagine something like that?
The future is already here. That's LinkedIn that you're describing. That's 100% of the plan of LinkedIn. That with the skills, with ability to put on projects, with some of their acquisitions, with learning platforms, there is one company that can, that elaborate this idea and deliver something. Unfortunately, LinkedIn has not been so good about education for maybe the 5-10 years, the 5 last years. Now they've been acquired by Microsoft, but it was part of the plan. That we've been working a lot on LinkedIn, and you know about the social graph with Facebook. But you can think of an incredible economic graph behind LinkedIn. They know, that's first they have something very interesting. And they were the first ones to do that. They can identify someone that is a marketer in the bank industry with a retail, that's experience. That is usually you're just, that's saying that you're a banker or you're in marketing. That's they know how to modularize skills and to articulate.
They unbundle somehow the classic categories of skills.
Number 2, I will go to your profile and say, it looks like it's quite good in. So you say accounting. Which one?
Management accounting.
Management accounting. I would add on your skills a plus or something, and I can add if we say that we've been working together on a project, I would say we've been working on this project, and the platform knows that I am an expert in something. That we say this guy who is an expert in something is saying that.
Yeah, it's a little bit here. You're right.
It's and that was part of the plan to move there, and before 2026.
Okay.
But again, it's that was what we've been talking about with Ludovic. When you're ahead of time, usually pretty often you get lost. It's not only about being ahead of time. It's also that sometimes you have so many options that you decide to stick to an option, just like LinkedIn, that is only about hiring people and helping people to find as employees, just because that's the market is just like on fire. But they could decide that there is much more money and much more interest, I hope, to build that infinite learning or permanent or eternal learning platform that we'll be happy to use, you and I.
Mm-hmm. Thanks a lot for this
that
analogy.
could be a good conclusion, maybe an overture. Well, now the clock is ticking.
Okay.
And we'll have to thank Stéphane really
Merci
to
beaucoup.
have come to us
you
and
very
really share with us. Thank you for this sharing, Stéphane. And well, you can apply for an internship. That could lead to a great job. I mean, what we said. This is interesting.
I'd be happy to get back for my lifetime warranty at ESCP sometimes.